Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Pink Property Podcast. I'm Leo Bryan, director here at David Lee, and this week I'm joined by Laura Kirby, one of our associate partners here in the office, our head office here. And what I wanted to talk to you about this week was trying to tie your house move in with the application for your school place for your children. This can be a really stressful moment and is one of the main drivers as to why people choose to move house. It's because of schooling, whether that be for primary or secondary. And we've just come up with a couple of things that are really worth considering. And Laura, I wanted Laura on the podcast today as you've just gone through this experience yourself. You've got primary and now secondary school age children, so have gone through the process. So a little bit of first-hand experience I thought would be really good. And we've got 5 top tips for you. Tip number 1 is research.
Yeah, doing your research on a school is imperative. Every child is different. Every child will have different needs. So the more research you do into a school, the better. Don't always go on hearsay or what you've been told is a very good school, because it really is, as I said, very specific to the child. So whether it be in-person visits, some of the schools will be doing this now, but the others have created a very, very good virtual tour on their websites. And it's really important that you look at all of that information. Stats as well, all stats on schools are now printed and produced for you to see, and really kind of go with a gut instinct that way. And of course, obviously consult your child on that too. Yeah.
Did your kids have quite a specific view on, like for your eldest, I know he's just taking the step up to senior, will be in September. Did he have quite a focus of where he wanted to go? Or did he know?
He's quite an easy open child. We just had a look at what he's very good at and what school worked well with his personality and what he's good at and where he needs to be pushed, and if those schools were able to offer that to him.
Did any of the schools surprise you on the way around as you were doing your research?
Absolutely. There was a couple of schools that we had in our head that we'd kind of sort of written off and thought, no, I don't think we'll go and see that one. Because of the changes with COVID, etc., and them having all of the open day presentations online, we thought, why not? And we were really surprised by some of the schools that we had already discounted in our mind, which actually became to be our kind of second choices. So really do look at absolutely every school. Absolutely, yeah.
And the virtual open days that they do, are they like a live virtual, or are they all pre-recorded from what you've seen?
They are all pre-recorded.
Right.
They are. I mean, the problem with that is you don't get the sense, the touch, the feel, but you do get a very, very good overview of the school. The head teachers on there will talk for some time about their school and what they stand for, and you will get an instant yes or no in yourself.
That gut feel.
Absolutely.
Cool. Tip 2 is timing.
Yes, timing is imperative. It's very easy to see from Hertfordshire and Essex County website when the application process starts and when it needs to be in by. If you're timing your move for that, it's really important that you've got those timescales in your head and you leave yourself enough time. So in Hertfordshire and Essex, for secondary school applications, you're looking at the end of October to the beginning of November to be getting those in, and for primary schools it's by the end of January. So bearing in mind that a move at the transaction normally takes, give it sort of 4 months, make sure you're allowing yourself enough time to do that and then get in to register your new address.
Because some of these schools do want you in these new addresses before they'll even take an application,
They will,
right?
absolutely. Unfortunately, they will only take the address that you are currently living in at the time of application. It may be that you are moving 2 weeks later, but if you're not in that address at the time of the application, it doesn't count.
Fine. So it can be tricky.
Yeah.
Tip number 3 is catchment.
Catchment. So school catchment areas. It's a
big topic,
it's
right?
a big topic. It's something we talk about all the time. Now, catchment areas can vary depending on demand and the applicants that are coming in. You'll also find as well that some schools, 3 actually in Bishop Stortford this year, because of such demand and because of the number of applicants that they've had, actually have added year groups.
Wow.
So 3 schools now have added an extra 30 children, which is an extra form, if you like, because of the demand. Basically, if you're in walking distance of the school, you're in a good catchment. If you're in a short bus ride, you're in a good catchment of a school too.
Yeah, and it just sort of buyer beware really. These things can change and flex about,
These can change,
can't
absolutely,
they, depending on their interests. So
absolutely, and also depending on the number of children in your class that are applying for those positions as well. Each school gets a certain percentage, and if one year group that there's a large percentage of those children, and you're living very close, you might not get that school either.
Yeah.
So it's worth looking at statistics as well, because they are, again, all available online. Who got into the school, how far they lived away from the property.
And are the individual sort of catchment criteria available from the schools directly? If you were interested in a particular school, could you ask them?
You can ask them. They'll always refer you back to the website.
Right.
That
so it's all available on their website?
It's all available for see.
Okay.
You can even see how the furthest away somebody lived that got into the school. Absolutely. It's so detailed for you now. I think it's worth bearing in mind as well, in Bishop Stortford, we're just a stone's throw from Essex. Being in Bishop Stortford means that you can apply for schools not only in Bishop Stortford but in Essex as well, if that's what you like. And likewise the other way round. If you're living in Essex, you can still apply for both an Uttlesford school and an East Herts school as well.
That's really useful because we do sit right on the border, and that's often a question. Tip number 4 is entrance exams.
Yes.
Do they
Sounds
still exist?
quite old-fashioned, doesn't it? There is aptitude tests that schools run now. They normally allow about 15 spaces per year group on these aptitude tests. And that really isn't catchment related. So you could be living very far out of the area, but if you score well in the aptitude tests, then you will be offered a place based on that. The aptitude tests, the dates for those are all given via the school's website. They run them themselves, and they are in 3 different categories. You'll have music, you'll have language, and you'll have sport. So you can apply for all 3 of those if you like, or you can just do one. It's entirely up to you. But if you have a child and you think is excelling in a certain subject, it's very, very much worth doing an aptitude test. It's good for them as well, I think.
Yeah. And there's only a couple of the schools locally that do that. It's not a can't branch across everything.
No, some schools don't like them.
Yeah.
Some of our schools in Bishop Stortford are bigger, so they can cater to a large number of applicants, if you like. But some schools, three schools in Bishop Stortford run the aptitudes. Yeah.
Okay. And finally, tip 5 is start early. I know we've talked a little bit about timelines in the past, but
yeah, absolutely.
If you're buying a house and you're trying to time that in with a school application,
so stressful.
It's really stressful. It's a bit of a fine art to try and get it going all at the same time.
And if I'm honest with you, if you have a child that's in year 4, I'd start thinking about secondary schools now, because you've got 2 years to sort yourself out, find the right one that you think is going to be, and then you can make concise decisions about it. It may be that you don't quite feel ready to move, but if you think about the long term, where you might be in a year's time or 2 years' time, if that school is very important to you, then it's really worth, year 4, thinking about it.
Yeah, no, totally agree. We've had some very stressful exchanges and completions where people are just trying to get in time.
It's important to people. Bishop Stortford's fantastic, and one of the reasons it's so fantastic is its school system. Every single school in Bishop Stortford is either good with outstanding element or outstanding. So it's really important to utilise that. And get in on it.
Definitely. Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much, Laura. Really some good inside info on getting your kid set up and into position ready for their new schools they'll go to. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.